Hello, people of New World. It's me, Lemoni. And if you weren't aware, the new patch has come out. The March patch is out. We do have the Blunderbuss. So what I'm going to do for you today is I'm going to give you 3 different builds, what I believe to be the best current Blunderbuss builds, but I'm sure a lot more is going to uncover in the meta, just so that you can get started and have some fun with it once you hit it level 20. Before we get started, I'm just going to give my initial impressions. How do I feel about the Blunderbuss? I think it is going to take over the meta. Stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of insane stuff that you're going to be able to do with it. It's going to have utility. It's going to have kill potential. It's going to have mobility. It has CC. It has high damage. It combos really well with 2 of the best builds right now, those being Mage builds and those being Strength Bruiser builds, right? So there's a lot of room for it to open up into the meta and just transition as a new secondary weapon, right? Like a GA with a Blunderbuss, or an Ice Gauntlet with a Blunderbuss, or a Rapier with a Blunderbuss. That's one of the ones I'm going to talk about, but there is so much room given people's gear right now that they just have to throw in some new perks, throw in the Blunderbuss, and they're all good to go. So today, I'm going to give you what I think are the top 3 best builds. Before we get started, please keep doing that weird YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell. Tell everybody know. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to follow me on Twitch, I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday around 11 a.m. Central Time. Go for a couple hours. If you want to follow us on TikTok, Twitter, we have a Discord. And if you want to support me directly, feel free to hit up my Patreon. Now, let's get started with build number 1. So with this first build, this is going to be a Blunderbuss main build that I would combo with like a Rapier. Okay, this is going to be your main damage source is your Blunderbuss. The Rapier is strictly for escaping and utility. Now what I'm going to say with the majority of these builds is in a higher damage focused build, depending on what you're doing. For this one specifically, we're going to be aiming for unload here because there's so much damage you can do with a shotgun shot to the head. So we're going to start on the containment side. And the main abilities we're going to be taking are Azal's Shrapnel Blast, Claw Shot, and then we're going to be going for Blast Shot. So what I would do is I would max out this. Why is this strong? Well, one, it's going to do some heavy damage if you shoot it when they're knocked down on the ground later with this. And the big things are it's got a solid range, so you can spray it into a group if you need to. You get an additional 4 pellets, so it's shooting 9. And then every hit from this ability or the primary fire is going to reduce its cooldown. And the big thing is when somebody's laying on the ground, you shoot with the shotgun, drop the bomb on them. That's just a huge damage combo, and then you reset it really fast, right? And so now every time you're shooting people, you're getting resets. It does a solid amount of damage if you hit the head. You do have to use it rather close to hit the full blast on them. But again, it's just kind of one of those ones you can kind of launch into a pack and pray a little bit and then hope the grenade drops on them. It'll synergize really well with a Gravwell, so you can again shoot into there, drop the bomb, all that stuff. There's other build that I'm going to talk about later that's going to probably synergize a bit better. Where else am I going with this? You could go into this one. I think this is a little weak. Like it's some stamina, but I don't think it's going to be that much or super necessary. So I'm actually going to go all the way into Claw Shot. Now the goal of this build is to literally jump onto people's faces, knock them down, and shoot them in the head. And then, do whatever, keep shooting them, roll away. You have the mobility with a Rapier or something else in your kit. So the Claw Shot's going to pull you to them, do some damage, root them, and then you can use whatever ability you have and just try and shoot them in the face. Big things with this, we do end up getting 80 stamina over 10 seconds, so that is actually fantastic. And then 2, with every pellet, no matter if it hits a block or hits something, we're also getting cooldown reduction. Meaning we're going to be cycling through these 2 abilities pretty quick. So, you could Claw Shot shotgun somebody, and by the time, you hit like a shot or 2 with some other cooldown reduction built in, you could probably Claw Shot to another person and then just keep jumping around like your Spider-Man. So this is the Spider-Man build. Next, what are we going to go into? I think taking ramp is going to be really strong. You'll be reloading a lot. There's, shoot 2 shots. I think preemptively too, before you go into a pack or you go into a fight, you could shoot a couple times, get a little damage boost, keep reloading, get it stacked up, and then just dive into people. And then this one, we're going to take Deep Load just for the extra kill potential. And then I honestly think Fortifying Aggression is going to be a really solid move. There's a lot of defensive utility that we're going to bounce between these 3 abilities specifically, but I'll explain those later. And then Unload. So next shot fired within 6 seconds after triggering an ability shoots 9 pellets. These shotgun shots hurt, especially if you hit them in the head. So if you Azal's Shrapnel Blast right into a shot, which you can do pretty much simultaneously, this is about 18, right? Because this is another 4 hitting. So 18 shrapnel hitting the enemy in a very, very quick with a bomb on top of them after you've rooted them and then knocked them down and rendered them, all that stuff. So this is what I'm going to do on the left side. Now I will say you could either put your utility here and get this whenever you're shooting somebody and you get that 10% fortify, or you're going to put it over here or here. We'll talk about that. Next, we're going to take using an ability reduces all other ability cooldowns by 4% of their remaining time. We're then going to take every pellet that is a headshot reduces cooldowns. We want as much cooldown as possible because the goal of this build is being able to claw to people, shot to them, knock them down, being mobile. We're not going to take these two, but they'll be a part of a different build. And then we're going to go buckshot. So 10% damage on, as long as you haven't damaged them in the last 8 seconds. So to get a little bit of initial burst, we have to take it just to get down to here. And then the thing is, you could go into something like this, but I don't really think it's that viable because we're really focused on a close range build. We're going to take blast shot and we're going to go into preparation. Preparation is what's going to give you the rend. It's going to hit everybody in front of you with a rend and knock them down. Now, your last point that you have some options here. You could go on to like extended chamber, so you could hit like 3 shotgun shots pretty fast, but I don't think that's going to be as worth in this build, especially because we're going to be using the claw shot mobile overload, and that is going to be whenever you pull to somebody, if you currently have 2 loaded, you'll get a third, or it's going to grant you 1 ammunition reload regardless. So it's kind of another way of like substituting for this with using our cooldown to actively get cooldown reduction. And then your last one is going to be a defensive. Personally, I think Last Chance has a ton of viability. That 50% damage reduction when you go below 50% health for 4 seconds on a 30-second cooldown. By the time you go and jump on somebody and then jump on somebody else, this should be back up. So personally, I would probably go Last Chance. And then you could either take Honor Roll and get that to stack up after using 5 abilities and be at 15%. But I think this is the weaker of the 3 defensive capabilities with it. So I would take Fortifying Aggression. So now, with this build, how do you run it? You're going to, one, there's 2 options. You could pull to somebody and then just shotgun them right away and then shoot them up, do all that stuff and knock them down, shoot them in the head again. So like you could claw, shoot, then shotgun at the same time, knock them down, then shoot your final shotgun shot into their head to get the increased damage, right? So there's that combo. There's also, let's say there's people in front of you, you can blast shot them, hook onto the ground while they're laying there, and then shotgun and then shoot them and do everything else and get all that cooldown reduction. Regardless, this is a super high damage build. It is a main blunderbuss kind of build for just diving people. It is PvP specific, I would say. You're going to do a lot more in PvP, but you could probably run this in PvE. I would combo it with a rapier. I would combo it with a great axe maybe, and trying to like lock people down. You could even combo it with like a hammer or a spear, but I think using this like the typical rapier meta and going blunderbuss rapier and getting into it, it could be really, really good. So that's my first build that I would really suggest for PvP and PvE. All right, this next build is going to be good for somebody like Bean, where you're trying to be a damage farmer. All right, so what you need to do is you're going to take all AoE. This is going to be really good for when people are clumped up in grav wells. It's going to be very similar to like what you do as a mage. You wait for somebody to be in a grav well, you wait for those heavy AoE situations on point, and you just unload your whole kit, and it gives you a ton of AoE opportunity. And then we're going to have some self-survival in there. So it's going to be primarily the chaos side. We're going to be taking ability cooldown reduction. We're not going to be taking this because it's really going to focus on using your abilities, not actually shooting people. We're going to take splitting grenade, and we're going to just take all the modifiers to it, right? We're going to take as much damage as we can. Getting that burn is going to be nice, getting the 25% increased damage, and you're going to be launching this grenade into packs of people. You can let it bounce if you'd like to, but I think it's typically going to be one that you have to be a little bit more active with and manually detonate. And when you detonate it, it's going to be kind of like Ziggs in League of Legends, and they're going to all explode, putting some grenades on the ground and blowing people up. And it's going to be really good for points. It's going to be really good for grav wells. But the bigger thing is we're going to play Call of Duty and do some noob tubing, and we're going to take mortar charge, and we're just going to blast that all the way through. You might as well just put the points in because we're going to be going for double down, but this is going to turn it into a giant grenade launcher. And again, if the target is farther away, you're going to be looking for AoE, but if the target is farther away, they'll be taking increased damage. So you line yourself up, you look at that grav well, and you just unload 4 grenade launcher shots with whoever your buddies are, get a little firing range going, and you are going to decimate everybody in those packs. You're probably going to want to set this up with a Malachite, but this is a more int-heavy mage build where we get a lot of int synergy because we have some burns, we have like elemental damage coming out of this, like fire damage and explosive stuff. But you're going to want to run some strength regardless, it's going to be, well, you could run some strength, but this could be for the people who are currently running ice gauntlets, right? So you run an ice gauntlet, you keep shower on, you keep block on, and you keep storm on, and you have all of this heavy AoE potential. So what I would then go into is blast shot. We're going to take this point, and then we're going to take double down. For supplemental things, I think personally we should take on a roll because we get reduction. We're using a lot of abilities here. Why not take it in case somebody rolls up on us? It's 10 seconds while it's out. I think last chance is good. I don't think extended chamber is needed, so don't really go into that. We want this for more damage, and we want this for more damage. What would I do on this side? It's tough, right? Because what we have left, there's if something works the way it did work at one point on PTR, you could potentially do something down here. But you have these extra points. You have 3 extra points. I say flex them if you want. You could go into just full right side. You could also drop something like on a roll or last chance. And what you could do is go into all of these. And this one is last shot loaded into the blunderbuss will do increased damage. We then also get increased damage from ramp here. And I believe this still works on the last shot of mortar charge. I could be wrong. I will need to do some more testing on it, but it did work that way once in the PTR, I believe. And then, yeah, you're good to go. You don't get a lot of usage out of this. You get some usage out of reloads. So this would be more damaged oriented, straight damage with a little less utility. Now, what I would say for the build is either go this for that damage and straight damage with that lack of utility, or we just end up going full right side and just get everything out of it that we can. And I think that will also function very well. But again, this is one I would combo with an ice gauntlet for heavy AoE, doing just put down your ice storm, have a malachite on, and just unload all of this AoE into packs of people and get tons of damage. All right, and the last build here is going to be the best one for supporting. If you are more somebody who wants to use this as a chase down or a kill potential, or you're a tank, okay, this is the stuff that you can do with it to lock down targets. It'd be, pretty high con build, or you could maybe figure out a way to do it. I'm working on some stuff with a healer that I'll talk about eventually, but here is what I would do for lockdown potential. Net shot is crazy. I'll show this eventually once I have some more stuff figured out with it, but the range of net shot is absolutely absurd. So you can lock down somebody, they get slowed, you can take the extra perk on it, and then we also get more slowing. It's a 50% slow that degrades to normal speed over 5 seconds. So there's that. You can chase down people and you get a dot on them. All right, so that'll be nice, keeps them in combat. Next, take claw shot, you root them, you get some cooldown reduction when you're hitting people, and you get another reload if you want to shoot at some people for some more cooldown reduction. You could take this fortify if you'd like instead of this one. This right here is up to you. I would then go into future planning, and the thing is, we really want to get double down because we want more cooldown reduction. We're not really looking for damage out of this build. So we're gonna have to take pretty much all the utility here, and just like the other one, this is such a good setup. It knocks down everybody, it rends everybody, anybody right in front of you, and then we can get a little speed boost to them while they're on the ground, and then just light them up. We'll take artillery, we'll take extended chamber, and take last chance just because we need to get to double down. What is the goal of this build? This is something you could use with a sword and shield. This is something you could use as a assassin, right? You don't have to put any points into this, and you can simply just use it to go lock down people, right? If you're a spear boy, you're that high damage sword and shield build that is just disgusting right now. You can net shot to slow them, claw shot to root them. You can do this to knock them down and rend them. You got a lot going here. So this is the high support utility version of the blunderbuss that I think a lot of people are going to be using as well. I think it's going to be, I think there'll be a solid mix of the three. I think there's the most potential between these last two just for setting things up. All right, so let's wrap up this discussion with what weapon should you be using to supplement it. For that first build that we talked about, I would highly, highly, highly recommend using something like a rapier. The rapier, just using it like our standard one that I use as a healer, you're going to have evade, you're going to have flesh, and you're going to have riposte to just escape whatever you need to chase down people even more, and then you Spider-Man around, knock them down, shoot them in the face, just high, high, high close damage. It's going to be like a Blunderbuss Assassin build. For the second build, I would highly recommend using something like an Ice Gauntlet if I can find it. And then what you're going to do is I would run Ice Storm, I would run Entomb, and I would run Shower. For that second build, again, you are the backline mage. You're still going to be a mage setup. I would just recommend going full int blast. So all of you like 50 con mages right now, just throw on that blunderbuss with the second build, and then maybe throw in like a nice gem or something like that for some more elemental scaling so that we can get more out of putting points in int. And then just A-wing points, right? Put your Ice Storm down, or actually put a Malachite in. Ice Storm down, they're all slowed, and then just blast the crap out of them with your grenade launchers, your bombs, your everything. So that would be the best for the last one. And then for that third build, this is going to be support. So a lot of supports will run hammer. So, you want to claw up to them, knock them down, stun them, do all that stuff. Do all that. You could grav well and do that. Or you could be a tank with sword and shield and really use it to also knock down targets. I think there's a lot, if you're a point holder, a lot of potential with blast shot to knock people off and to keep them down. Also net shot for when people are running away and just setting up kills, whatever works best for you. I hope all of you are enjoying the Blunderbuss. It is a really interesting kind of card to throw into the meta, and I'm really curious to see where everybody decides to take it. Those are what I believe to be the top 3 best builds for Bruiser. Then you have a Mage one and you have a support one. So as always, if you need anything, please leave a comment. Hit me up in Discord. That's where I'm the most responsive. But please keep doing that weird YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell. Tell everybody you know. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to support me directly, feel free to hit up my Patreon. I'm trying to be a little bit more active there. I'm working on it. TikTok, Twitter, Discord, all that stuff. And I do stream on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time. And then I stream wars and stuff at night. Yeah, if you need anything, please let me know. But as always, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you to every single one of you for being you. Peace.